Let's take a quick look at using calibration when we import and export. I've got the CAD view opened here with a CAD drawing related to the survey I'm working on, but it's not on the same coordinate reference system as my survey. That's often the case. So I've actually inserted that XREF over here, and I created a calibration to lock it onto the coordinate reference system of my survey. And I created that calibration, and now I just uncalibrated so you could see what that difference was. Let's go ahead and take a look at this plan 3373, and we're going to use that to export and import here. So here's that plan 3373, and we can highlight it. You can see it's this sort of interior boundary of the right-of-way there. And I'm going to show you how this works. So let's go ahead and tell Traverse PC we want to export. And it really doesn't matter which option we choose. I'm going to choose ASCII here, but any type that supports calibration on import and export will give you this calibration button here. So initially it'll be set to none. I can just come in and select the calibration that I want. Here's the one I created earlier, and it just gives me a real quick reference here that it's going from the DWG to a local site, which is what happened. I went from the DWG reference system to my local site here for my survey. So I'm going to check that, but I'm going to check the reverse calibration because I want to export this interior boundary back to the coordinate reference system of the DWG. So I'm going to reverse that calibration. Let's go ahead and give this a name of whatever we want to call it. And I'm going to call it Plan 3373 Text. And then I'll sometimes do this. I'll do the CAD CRS. So I know that the coordinates are in the coordinate reference system of the CAD file. And we'll just replace that. And let's tell it export. So we just exported those 9 points. And Traverse PC came into the message view and said, I'm going to tell you for each point here that I used this calibration from the local site, because I reversed it, to the DWG of the XREF, because I reversed it. So for every point, it tells me I went from this coordinate to this coordinate. So from the local site to the CAD file. So if I were to import that now, and let's go to ASCII. And I'm going to make sure calibration is set to none because I want to bring it in uncalibrated. So in the coordinates of the DWG file, and it should lay that right over the top of this uncalibrated XREF. So let's just see if it does that. Here's that CAD CRS file. Let's go ahead and import that. And again, the message view tells me that I'm importing that, and it doesn't give me any calibration information because I didn't import it calibrated. So let's come over now to that Traverse. Here's what it imported right here, Plan 33 CAD CRS text. And when I check it, do you see where the points ended up? It plotted points on the uncalibrated XREF because those points are in the location or the coordinate reference system of the DWG file. So I could export this to the project manager, and he could simply bring that into his CAD file, and he'd have my coordinate positions. Now, I could add those to the file directly using the same reverse calibration. It's a real slick tool in Traverse PC. But I wanted you to have you see that if I exported those, that's what would happen. Now, let's go ahead and import this calibrated, okay, using the same calibration we use for the XREF to get us on our survey. So let's choose Import, and I'm simply going to undo what I had done previously. It gets rid of all that. Now let's choose our calibration, and we're going to use the same calibration, but we're not going to reverse it this time. And let's choose that file. So we're going to make sure we get the CAD CRS, and we're going to import it. And look what Traverse PC does. For every point that it just brought in, it says, I do have a calibration that I'm going to use, and I am going to calibrate that point from the point I read in the file to the calibrated position. But then it comes and says, oh, I already have a point at that calibrated position, which is what it should do. And so I'm not creating any new points. I'm simply reusing those points. So now when I come in and plot this new traverse that I got, I'm really just going to see it right over the top of what was already there. So I'm not changing any positions of my survey points. I'm saying I calibrated the uncalibrated or the CAD positions, and they exactly match my survey positions, which is exactly what I expected. Okay, so I can do this same operation with any file that supports calibration. So if I was going to do a land XML, for instance, I just choose the calibration because it supports it. If I choose a file type that doesn't support the calibration, this will go away, and I just simply won't see that option. So importing and exporting using calibration or reverse calibration so that I can reconcile the data I'm bringing in and sending out to whatever calibrated or uncalibrated coordinate reference system I want.